Thank you for joining me with Revitalizing the Chakras, Root Chakra Exercise 1. So in this chakra, we'll be focusing in on the root chakra, and it's the Nebthet center. And that's the ancient Kemetic name, Nebthet, that refers to what we know today as the root part of our energy system, Nebthet. And so before going in to discuss this first part of revitalizing, we'll make a proclamation according to this particular journal prompt laid out by Kajara, Nebthet, which I love. I love this. And so we're going to proclaim, I release, I let go, I surrender any blockages in my root. I have everything that I need to succeed within me. Let's say that again. I release all blockages in my root, and we're feeling this. I have everything that I need to succeed within me. And so I'm not looking for anything or anyone outside of myself. I already have everything within me. Now, the root center deals with grounding, of course. This is the base of our energy system. And so we're dealing with the qualities of connecting with earth. We're dealing with physical attributes and aspects. We're dealing with our very innate nature, survival, basic needs, self-preservation. The energy of our root is really associated with our beginning cycle of life, which is around the age that we're born all the way up until the age of 7. And this is usually a time where we're meant to really learn how to care for our own basic needs. Just basic needs, nothing extravagant or high level. Things like just basically feeding ourselves and cleansing ourselves, just basic things. Now, during this time, we also learn how to love ourselves as well. And sometimes because of situations and circumstances that come up, maybe we don't get to learn these basic essentials. If there's some level of interference or neglect, right? We don't get to get the proper experience or modeling for this that we need for the basic needs from 0 to 7. We also learn to connect and speak with kindness. We learn to speak from love based on how we're spoken to. Now, just because we've learned things a certain way doesn't mean that we carry them through. These could be things that can also be unlearned, right? If it's not something that we want to, or we found is not beneficial. Many times that is the case. We find ourselves unlearning things to relearn them. With that unlearning that happens, this could connect to things like doing shadow work and going back to revisit the past or re-experience or relive so that we can get a different perspective that we can pull out and restructure our history or what we remember about it and find healing in it, right? That energy around our childhood really says that's the foundation for our lives. And this has everything to do with how stable we are mentally, how stable we are emotionally, how stable we are physically, how stable we are spiritually. And when it comes to things that happen within our childhood that creates turmoil or trauma, it could actually trickle down through it could trickle forward rather into other parts of our lives along the way that cause issues further down along the way for us to have a need to resolve them. And so to be able to live basic, peaceful lives within ourselves and within others, that healing is a part. Healing that, whatever caused that break or that deficit. And this is the root part of our energy center that we're talking about here, that will need healing as it pertains to inner childhood experiences that led to hurt or pain. And so there are some questions that were laid out to help us in getting to root issues. And these questions are designed to stimulate expressions of feeling and bringing balance to things that need to be resolved as well. And so exercise number 1, of course, you'll need a journal of some kind to record, or a device to record orally if you plan to speak your experience. You also need possibly something where you can keep track of time, a clock or a watch or a phone. You'll want to look at how much time you're spending on your journaling if that's important to you. And you may also have a set time in mind where you can only spend a certain amount of time on this particular type of exercise. That's okay. And so if you have a journal, you may even want to get a special writing instrument, something that is special, if that's what you want, something that makes it easy to write, like a ballpoint pen, something that feels personable to you or special to you. Yeah. And so I feel like that makes the experience feel a little bit more magical, a little bit more personable, a little bit more inviting as well, and more beautiful for me. And so to actually, express, to journal is rather significant during this process. And so you can, as I stated, use a video, as I stated in my introduction video, you can actually do like one question a day, or you can do one question a week, whatever time frame works for you. It's all about you and you structuring this exercise for yourself, whatever stimulates comfort. And as long as you're recording it, so that you can possibly look back on it on the back side of this, just to make sure that you have that information pouring out of you and have it recorded for you or written, so you can refer to it in the future. So the first question that comes up is, did I learn to take excellent care of myself as a child? That's the first question. The second part of that question is why or why not? The second question number 2, is for a root chakra exercise, understanding that your journal is significant to this healing process. And asking yourself, am I living in fear, or do I feel safe and stable? Exercise number 3 is all about being true to yourself and honest with your answers. What are the greatest qualities that you possess? And you're going to list all of your best qualities in this exercise. And number 4, also this is taking time to clear the root center. Are my basic needs being met right now? Why or why not? And then the last root chakra exercise question, again, is clearing the Nebthet center. Is there anything from my childhood that I need to heal, that I haven't healed yet, that needs to be healed? And what does my inner child need to feel balanced and at peace? Okay. And then furthermore, I wanted to jump in and also talk about these questions, because I do feel like it's really important. As I stated, it could entail some level of shadow work where you're revisiting the past, you're exploring like what are some of the things that you may have experienced that now you know to kind of be trauma based, or that triggers you in a way you don't really understand why. Some things that you might want to avoid. Well, why is that? It's going back to discover what's happening there and how it can be dealt with, confronted, healed, right? Bringing it out in the open and actually taking a look at it is healing, right? That's the beginning, is acknowledging what's there. And so I think this is very important. So I'm going to jump in and I'm going to do, the very first question, and then I'm going to come back and have discussion about it. Okay. So I will see you in a second. All right. So as I did this exercise for myself, the first question, did you learn to take excellent care of yourself as a child? Excellent stood out to me. So that would mean taking the measures to be in tip-top shape and care when it comes to handling and loving and learning how to care for self, even at a young age, like whatever capacity that would be at, right? And so from what I remember, there were definitely times I remember a few solid experiences where I felt taken care of, but there's lots of gaps for me. And I don't have a solid memory per se. As I journaled, I tried to remember. For me, there were points of definite trauma. Now that I look back now and I understand what it is, there were definitely points of trauma that interrupted my first season of life from 0 to 7. And so I believe that is why I may have these blanks. And like I literally have very little information from that first part of my life for myself. It's rather weird. And I believe that's why things seem a little bit hazy, right now. Though I didn't have that full understanding at that time what was happening, I believe that's why the haziness is there. Trauma was actually happening, I believe. My subconscious, in an attempt to protect me, may have hidden certain segments in this time for me from 0 to 7. As I said, I don't really have a clear picture of what that was, and I don't have a definite memory of specific lessons of guidance around caring for myself. And so I would say when it comes to number one, whether or not I learned to take excellent care of myself, I would have to say a definite no for me, right? Just generally speaking, I didn't learn to take excellent care of myself as a child. Now, for me, there were also trauma things happening, around me as well. Growing up, there were things that occurred that was both out of my control and out of my caretaker's control. Now that I understand, so I definitely believe that definitely plays an important factor as well. But the beautiful thing for me about all of this is, as I delve into these questions and being able to go back and revisit the past and peer into even nurture around the things that happen at this stage in my life and what that looked like, for me is beautiful, because I'm able to go back and re-experience those things now, re-nurture my inner child, re-care for my inner child. And that's something that I do to this day, that I continue to do, that I will continue to do moving forward, to usher in that healing for myself. Now that I know that I have the power lying within me to heal myself and to heal my trauma and to heal even my past, right? I have learned grace for myself in this process. I've also learned grace for those involved in this season in my life. And as a result of the lack of presence in that way, I have grace for all of that. And so it's been rather interesting for me delving in around this number one question, around this energy. And it's really amazing for me, like how everything really is interconnected and intertwined, and how it relates, and how we're able to be directed to energy that relates to the world as a whole around us, as it is currently presented, right? And how some of those things guide us to go within, like talking about the chakras, right? I feel like that's why it's so important. And I found this to be important, this understanding, like, of what's happening within us, because it truly is what's within. It's what's happening within that we are reflecting on the outside. Many times it's from the experiences that we're having inside that we see, that is actually being projected, or that's the experience of the reality we're living on the outside, right? If we're experiencing conflict on the inside, that's what we're seeing showing up on the outside. If we're experiencing peace within, that's what we see showing up on the outside. I believe that's why it's so important, and why we're so privileged to be able to experience these things that bring in these life-changing opportunities. And so I don't regret at all jumping into the chakras. And so hopefully for you, you've done some of the work as well up to this point. Maybe you will, but I do want to jump to the next one and invite you, if you feel open and free, to share any experiences if you have done the work, or go and do the work and then come back and share or comment what your experience has been. Okay? If you feel free to open up in that way. And so, yeah, let's go to the next one and see what pops up with that one. Healing the root chakra. So the question number 2 is, am I living in fear? Do I feel safe and stable? And I definitely feel like this is definitely a good journal work question that's going to be beneficial during the healing process, discovering this energy. Now, me in particularly, I'm not living in fear now at this moment. However, I do remember times in life where that was the situation and the circumstances where I actually found myself in that energy of fear a lot. Right now I'm not, and I've actually come to understand, and I've done lots of exploration, experimenting, looking into experiencing my personal voice. But I do feel like that now I have a sense of healthy power around creating life in a way that I desire it and that I crave it and that suits me. And I'm at a point in life right now where I do take pleasure in doing what I feel like I want to do and what I feel like I'm being led to do through the connection through my heart space as well. Now, if at any time I do sense that I need to do something, I'll do it. And if that feeling of fear creeps in, I've learned to consistently make a habit of confronting that and finding out what that is, delving into that, like whatever it can be, and kind of making a conscious effort to hit it head on. I feel like I'm becoming, and I found more and more, I'm becoming more skilled at creating environments for myself, or creating atmospheres around myself that's conducive for me and what I need, and that creates comfort for me. And so I've really learned to surround myself consistently with things that feel good to me, with people that align and feel good to me. And if for some reason it doesn't, then it just doesn't. Like, if for some reason they don't, then I've assessed the situation in many circumstances to find out why that is. If I feel it's worth looking into, maybe these were situations where I'll take the time out to ask if this is something that should be even a part of my life at this point. And if it is, how can I do work around that to enjoy it or to benefit from it, to draw out necessary experiences that's going to be beneficial for whatever it is that I feel like I'm being called to do that may present a little bit of discomfort. But if it's not, it's just as simple as walking away. Like, what is there else to do? Why would you live in that uncomfortable energy when you don't have to? But in essence, in all of that, through all of this, is creating things in my own terms, on my own terms. And I've really come to say that I've never felt more stable, more secure than I do right now. For me, it's really around being self-reliant and not really depending upon anyone else or anything outside of myself. For me, that makes me feel secure. That makes me feel stable and at peace within myself. Now, of course, life always throws curveballs and opens up opportunity where we need to release control or venture outside of our comfort zone, right? That's all part of growing consistently. And so where there's challenges that way that want to stimulate growth or necessary getting out of my comfort zone so that I can expand, I'm really at peace with where I am right now, though I do like a challenge and I'm open for growth as well. So like I said, I'll assess it and see if it's something that would be beneficial. If it is, then let's do it. But where I am currently right now, I'm at peace, no fear. And furthermore, I feel like fear can be an illusion for the most part. And I feel like it's all in the way that we're looking at things. It's many times the perspective that we're taking. And it may necessitate taking a closer look at what it is about that thing that makes us feel unsafe or unstable or in that fearful energy or feel like we're in danger, and like tackling those things. Fear is a result of the mind perceiving a situation or something or someone a certain way. And so I think it's beneficial to delve into those energies to see what lies there and why it feels threatening. Working with the root chakra, which talks about dealing with things that make us feel safe and grounded, and that sense of home within ourselves and stable, right? It's beneficial in working with the root chakra. I'm grateful for it. Taking a look at the deeper sources of that energy of fear and where it might be arising from and why, and how that could be connected to certain specific experiences and circumstances that we've had. And going to these experiences and circumstances, finding out what that could be. Deep diving and understanding why, what makes us feel that way. And so, again, the benefit of being in tune with the energies within your body, what's happening. And the importance of being able to discover and find out like what that is. In essence, doing the work, looking within, finding out what's going on the inside that's being reflected through how we're relating with life in general, how we're looking at it, how we're processing it. You know, all those things are important to understand, how we might even be able to look at it differently or see it from a different perspective as well. And so, yeah, it could be a total misunderstanding, right? That fear could be arising out of something that's not being viewed in the correct way as well. And so this is a question that was a good one as well. I enjoyed this one because for me it feels good to be able to look back at times where I did live in that energy and see how that's changed for me for the better. But taking a look back and understanding why I felt those energies, going back to different things and relating it to different things in my childhood when I was growing up. And it could be things that maybe should not have happened. It could have been things that maybe could be being interpreted or remembered differently than they actually happened. But nevertheless, it's going back and taking a look to analyze that energy. There were certain things that may have been something that I took total responsibility for when I didn't need to, right? But because of the lack of understanding, you know, I found myself carrying the weight of something that I didn't need to. And so all of that I feel is really beautiful. It gives you an opportunity to go in and do like some self-work within yourself and release yourself from stuff so that you can live a more peaceful, healthier life. That's what this is about. And sometimes it's as simple as just changing a perspective, right? It don't always have to be deep. Sometimes it is, but it don't always have to be. And when it needs to be, pulling out a deeper point of view when that's necessary. And so this was a great question for me. So I'm happy that I made choices and decisions that have led me, you know, down this particular road where I'm able to tap into myself like this and understand myself in a very simple yet profound way. It's an excellent way to do it, working with the chakras. And so these were the first two questions. If you've worked through the question number 2 and you want to share, you can. You don't have to. If you want to comment, you can. Also, as I mentioned, there's 3 more questions that you can work through at your own leisure. And you can come back and let us know like how that related for you. If you want to share it, that's fine too. If you'd like to follow along with this Revitalizing the Chakras activity, feel free to. Make sure you're subscribed and that you hit the bell so you'll be notified. Also like and share. I appreciate all of the love and support, okay? All right, my friends, let's do it.